Welcome back to Joyfully at Home. Today we're going to make a special treat since we're going into Easter week. Something kind of special and very springy. We're going to make strawberry lemonade cupcakes. These will work great if you're having an Easter dinner and you want to have a simple and light dessert. They're not your typical heavy cupcake. They've got that really nice light springy flavor to them. And we're going to go ahead and get started making those now. We'll have the PDF link in the description as usual, and we'll go ahead and get started on these. For this recipe, first you're going to start off with a cup of butter, and that would be 2 full sticks of butter. So we're going to go ahead and make sure we get that into our mixer. We want to go ahead and cream our butter and sugars together to begin with. So we'll get started. First we'll just take our butter and just give it a little bit of a mix just to get it started. Break it down just a little bit. And this butter will be at room temperature. You don't need it melted, but you definitely don't want it cold. You just want to have it at room temperature so it mixes easily. Now we're going to go ahead and add our sugar. We have 2 cups of sugar for this cake, and that is because we have lemon juice going into it. It's a little bit more tart, so we add just a touch more sugar. At this point we can also add our vanilla bean paste. You can also use just regular vanilla extract, is fine. Either is perfectly fine, and you're going to have 2 teaspoons. And then we're going to go ahead and we're going to mix this together till it's nice and creamy. You're going to see your sugars and your butter come together to make a nice creamy mixture. Now that your butter and your sugars and your vanilla bean paste and your vanilla has started to come together, you're going to add 1/4 cup of lemon juice. That's going to be the wonderful tartness of your cake. And then we're going to go ahead and beat this again until it becomes nice and creamed together. Once your mixture with your lemon juice, your sugar, and your butter, then you're going to start adding your eggs one at a time on low speed to begin with, to go ahead and start beating them in one at a time. At this point, I usually like to go ahead and make sure you scrape your edges of your bowl down so you've got it all in the bottom of your bowl. And you'll see it has a little bit of almost a curly texture, but that's because the eggs, the butter, and the lemon juice are kind of reacting together. Go ahead and mix it up until it's nice and smooth. Now we're going to start incorporating our flour and our buttermilk. But before we do that, we have 3 cups of all-purpose flour. We have 2 teaspoons of baking powder, 1/2 of baking soda, and 1/2 of salt. And you're just going to take those dry ingredients and just kind of lightly mix them together in your bowl. So when you're starting to incorporate your dry and your wet, they're all evenly distributed. So now we're going to start putting in our flour and our milk. So we just incorporate a little bit at a time, about 1/3 of your flour. And you'll mix that in, and then you'll alternate between that and your milk. Now drizzle in just a little bit of your buttermilk. Add another 1/3 of your flour. sure your mixer's on low when you're adding flour. Add a little bit more of your buttermilk. Add another third. Add in your remaining flour. And then the last of your buttermilk. By using buttermilk, that keeps your cake as a very smooth and very tender cake texture. It gives it a very nice light crumb, makes it so it's not dense and heavy. And by alternating your flour and your milk in a cake batter, it keeps it evenly mixed, so you're not just dumping all your dry in and getting a hard, clumpy mixture. You're alternating them with your flour and your milk, so it keeps it at an even consistency, and your cake will actually come out a much nicer cake. So now this is your finished cake batter. You can see how nice and smooth it is. It's not runny, it's not overly thick, but it's got a nice texture. Now you can do this by spoon, or I like to do it lots of times with a cookie scoop, a larger size cookie scoop, and you'll get, so you can fill your cupcake papers to about 2/3 full. 1/2 to 2/3 is just fine. And this makes it just a little bit easier to scoop and get about the same amount in your, or in some cases, a little too much sometimes. But that's the best part of home baking. It's not always perfect, but it always tastes better. Now that we have our cupcake wrappers all filled and ready to go in the oven, we're going to put them in at a 350-degree oven. They're going to go in from anywhere from 15 to 20 minutes on average, depending on the temperature of your oven. So they will come out a nice light golden, and then we'll be able to decorate them. Now we're going to go ahead, while our cupcakes are baking, we're going to go ahead and make our icing for our cupcakes. And again, we're going to start with a cup of butter, which is again 2 sticks. And we just empty that right into our mixer. If you're not using a stand mixer, you can certainly do this whole project with a handheld mixer and just a large mixer bowl. So you don't need a stand mixer to do this. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to start our mixer again, get our butter started to cream up a little bit. Now again, when you're starting your icing, you're going to want to start it with room temperature butter, so it's not working your machine or your hand mixer, and it mixes up nice and smooth and creamy. Now for this icing, we're making a strawberry icing. So what I have here is ground down into a powder. You can use a food processor, you can use a small coffee grinder even. Is freeze-dried strawberries. It's just strawberries, just the fruit, nothing else added, and you can grind them right down into a nice fine powder, and they'll give your strawberry icing a nice intense strawberry flavor. We're going to actually use a 2-pound bag for this. It's a full batch of icing. So literally, you can dump the entire bag right in with your strawberries and your butter. And then we'll go ahead and get this started. With this, you want to make sure you always start your mixer back on low, so you're not making a mess with your powdered sugar, because it is very light and fluffy. During this process, you'll want to scrape your bowl down a couple of times. Once you see your strawberries are starting to incorporate, you'll just drizzle in just a little bit of milk and then let it mix again. And you'll keep drizzling in milk until you get a consistency that you like to use to decorate your cupcakes. Some people like their icing to be nice and thick. Some like it a little bit thinner. I'm kind of one that likes it right about in the middle, so it's not runny, but yet so it's not hard to pipe on your cupcakes. So you just drizzle a little bit in here and there until you get a nice consistency. Once you see your consistency of your icing coming together, then you can just start your mixer going a little bit higher, and it'll really come together as a nice smooth icing.